President, please be seated. The trial chamber is back in session, and the floor is now given to the co-prosecutor to continue his line of questioning. Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the coming half hour, I'm going to put a few questions to you, witness, regarding the organization of your commune, the revolutionary marriages, and the treatment of the Buddhists, and the treatment of people coming from Kampuchea Kraum. But before that, I would like to finish with my line of questioning with regard to the working and living conditions in Samrang commune and read out an excerpt of your written record, E3/5515. At answer 13, you said the following. With regard to the head of Unit 3, I only remember the name of one of them, Nyor, N-H-O-R, who is deceased. Free translation. At answer 14, you said they assigned people in Unit 1 or Unit 2 to control people in Unit 3. I knew that Nyor was assigned to control Unit 3 because he was strict with his work. End of quote. So how did you learn that Nyor had been appointed head of the cooperative where the 17 April people were working specifically because he was harsh? Who told you this?
I knew that Daniel took his assignment, and he was a strict person to do his job. That's all I know.
It might have been obvious back then, but did you learn why there were no cooperative leaders belonging to the 17 April people?
The cooperative chief was not a position for the 17 April people because they were the evacuee. This position is for the base people only.
Fine. In your written record at answer 23, you said the following. In the children unit, that is to say Unit 1, there were no arrests, but they stole things such as cooked rice, salt, coconuts, and palm juice. But they were tolerated because those children were the children of base people. End of quote. Did you ever find out what happened to 17 April children if they stole food?
Children of the 17 April people who stole anything, they were brought for reprimand for days or two, and then they did not do it again. Sometimes they were threatened for that mistake.
How did you learn that? Who told you that?
I witnessed children who stole coconut. They were from Unit 3, and the unit chiefs called them and told them to stop. And if you try to do that again, you will be taken for execution, and then the children stopped doing that again.
Fine. Now, regarding the organization of your commune and of your cooperative and of the higher echelons, you mentioned a few cooperative leader names, and at answer 13, this is what you said, and I will quote, it's the same document, E3/5515, and you said that the leaders of these three units were appointed by and received orders from the commune chief named Takem, Khem. The commune committee received orders from the district committee named Tachum, who is deceased. I do not recall the name of the sector committee, but the zone committee was called Tamok. Tramkok district was District 105, located in Sector 13. End of quote. Can you tell us if Takem remained commune leader until the arrival of the Vietnamese?
Yes, he was always the commune chief until the arrival of the Vietnamese troop, and then he left to the mountain, and then he returned, and accidentally he was killed by the villager in a revenge.
Back then, between 75 and 79, do you know if Takem would produce reports for the higher echelons? And if that is the case, how were these reports forwarded to the higher echelons, that is to say, to the district level?
The reports were sent through messenger in form of letter to the district office. So it was a kind of reporting system like that.
How did you know that this is how the reports were forwarded? Did you know these messengers? Did you play any kind of role in this process?
I don't remember messengers because it has been a long time ago.
And you spoke about a certain Tachem as a district leader. Did you know one or several district leaders at Tramkak in District 105 between 75 and 1979? Or you only knew Tachem?
I don't know other members. I know only Tachim because he was from Samraung, and I asked him, and I knew that he was the district chief of Tramkok.
If you asked him the question, does that mean that Tachum would come visit your unit or cooperative when he was a district leader?
Yes, he would often come to different communes to supervise the work site, and he would meet with the commune chief and so on.
Was Tachim sometimes accompanied by Tamok or by other people when he would come visit? So, for example, the chief of Region 13, or possibly foreigners?
No, there was not so many foreigner visiting. There were only cadre who were Cambodian. When the district chief came, he would escorted or accompanied by messengers to the place where we were.
So you confirm that you never saw Tamok, for example, come visit your unit, your commune?
I did not know him. I heard only his name.
Fine. Now I'm going to turn to questions regarding revolutionary marriages. And in order to expedite things a bit, I'm going to read out what you said to the investigating judge, and I will put questions to you with regard to the details of what you said. So this is document E3/5515. This is answer 32, question and answer 32. In Pol Pot regime, were there weddings? Question. And this is your answer. I also joined at Angponari. I saw the wedding of 20 couples. Some of them had known each other, but some had not. After the wedding, the militiamen eavesdropped at the houses at night to know if they got on well or not. At that time, no couple dared to not get on well because they were afraid of death. If any couple did not get on well, and it was known by the militiamen, they would report to the upper echelon. Next morning, they were called to be advised. They were threatened that they would be taken to some places, such as being taken to Krang Tachan. At that time, they did not use the word wedding. They said about making a commitment. If any couple loved each other, it did not matter if they were widows, unmarried men, or women. If they liked each other, they could propose to the upper level. At that time, the unit chief called and asked them if they liked each other, their wedding would be arranged. The wedding was mostly held at night with the participation of the commune committee, the chairman of the cooperatives and units. First of all, you said in this excerpt that you attended weddings at Angponari, and you also told us that it was at Angponari that the cooperative of Unit 1 was located. Does this mean that you attended marriages only within Unit 1?
Yes, I attended in that marriage, but I just to have a look. I have no role to play in that marriage.
Fine, but this wedding, do you confirm that this was a wedding within Unit 1 that did not involve at all people from Units 1, 2, and 3? Is that correct?
All wedding of people were prepare or perform at Ang Poneri. So whether they are from Unit 1 or 2 or 3, they were also married in the same place at Ang Poneri.
And were the people in Unit 1 sometimes married to people in Unit 2 or in Unit 3?
បាទ
People in Unit 1 can be married to people in Unit 2, but not with anyone in Unit 3.
And you said that weddings were very often held in the evening. When you say very often, does this mean that there were several marriages? How many times did you attend wedding ceremony?
I attended in 2 wedding ceremony. The first one was 20 couples and another one 10 couples for the marriage. And people were instructed to make the resolution saying that I commit to love my wife or my husband for the rest of my life, something like that.
And you spoke about the attendance of the commune chief, the cooperative chief, and the heads of the units. And at both wedding ceremonies that you attended, was it always Takem who would organize these ceremonies, who would preside over these ceremonies, the commune chief?
Response. Takem, the commune chief, also presided over the ceremony, and also the village chiefs try to help with the ceremony.
And during these ceremonies where couples would make commitments, would Takem speak? And what would he say to the people who were getting married, whether these people knew each other or not beforehand?
He made a brief remark in that ceremony. He said that when you made the resolution or commitment, you cannot separate it from each other later. And the unit chief, could you call the couples to make the resolution? And after that ceremony, everyone returned to their place.
And did Takem speak about directions coming from the higher echelons with regard to these marriages in the words he would say to the future spouses?
There was no instruction other than for those couple to love each other and to live together, and then they were told to go back to their units, and after they spend 10 days and they need to meet with each other again. That's all I heard and remember.
And you said that some people knew each other beforehand and some didn't. So what happened concretely during the ceremonies for people who did not know each other? Were they given numbers, or would they speak out their names? How did they manage to know who was going to get married with whom?
បាទ
Name were told that the man is matched or is a groom for that bride. There's some kind of introduction like that.
And the people who did not know each other, who were told that they had to get married, did they have the choice of deciding not to marry the other person?
There are some cases like that when anyone refused, but nothing happened to them. It's based on their mind. So a woman say that I don't like that man, I like another one, and people can say that during the wedding ceremony.
And you said that after the weddings, secret agents would hide to listen to the young couples close to their homes during the night in order to know if the couples got along or not. How did you know that these secret agents, these schlop, these spies, were hiding at night to listen to the young couples?
After the marriage, the unit chief sent the chlop or the militiamen to listen to them at night, and they assigned 2 militiamen per house of a couple to listen to the couple.
How old were the schlop, the militiamen, in your cooperative, in your commune? Were they young boys?
The chlop or militiamen who were assigned for that were in the 15th or 20th. Some were married, some were single, and they were peasant. They were the Samraung commune militiamen.
And you said that it was that schlop had to listen at night to see if the couples got along or not. What do you mean by getting along or not? What do you mean? Was it important for the couples to consume the marriage, or was it something else?
They wanted to know whether the couple consummate their marriage. And if they did not do that, they were called for reprimand or for education. Any couple who get along or consummated the marriage are fine, and they can go to work as usual.
And you said that with regard to those who did not get along, that is to say, who did not consume the marriage, they were summoned to be re-educated, that the couple was threatened to be sent somewhere, such as a Krang Tachang security center. And you told us earlier that people refused to get married with other people and that nothing happened to them. So apparently there's a contradiction. On the one hand, couples did not want to consume the marriage, and then they were sent to be re-educated and threatened to be sent to Krang Tachang. And on the other hand, you said that people had refused to get married and that nothing happened to them. So can you provide us with detail about these people who refuse to get married with other people?
Those who refuse to the marriage because they don't allow another partner and he or she wait for another partner for the next marriage.
D'accord, mais
Fine, but this still doesn't explain the fact that certain couples did not get along and that they were threatened. If all of these couples loved each other and agreed, logically they were supposed to get along. So why, based on what you learned, why did certain couples not get along?
The President, Mr. Kong Samon, you may proceed. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to object the question posed by the international co-prosecutor. In fact, the witness confirmed clearly to the question in relation to the decision of a person to choose anyone to be husband or to be wife during that time. But the response of the witness may not be satisfied the co-prosecutor, and then the co-prosecutor try to insist from the witness. This kind of questioning is not appropriate and acceptable for our purpose, because a witness cannot be insisted to respond to what the co-prosecutor would like to be in evidence. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may respond, I'm simply trying to resolve a contradiction which appears rather significant to me. The witness is saying on the one hand that people did not know each other before they were married. Therefore, I think one can deduce that people did not know each other and that they did not love each other. On the other hand, the witness has also stated that no couple ever put themselves in a position of disagreement or refused to consummate because they were frightened of death or they were threatened to be sent to Kangtachan. And he also says that some people refused their chosen spouses. I'm therefore just trying to resolve the apparent contradictions that have been presented by the witness.
President, your interpretation seems to means that you tried the witness to respond according to what you want. So for that reason, the co-prosecutor, please rephrase your question rather than to interpret or make a conclusion of the response by the witness. And if that is the case, then it is wrong.
Mr. Witness, you stated that no couple ever dared to disagree with one another because people were afraid of being sent to their deaths. Why were people so scared of dying if they refused to consummate their marriage? Did you ever have the opportunity to speak to the newly married couples or talk about this subject?
I heard about that instruction. They didn't dare not to consummate the marriage. And what I said was just in case that they did not consummate the marriage. And if they were spotted or monitored that they did not consummate the marriage, then they will be in that situation.
je vais passer à un sujet.
Very well, I'll move on to the next topic. As far as Buddhists were concerned, before the arrival of the Khmer Rouge, there were many pagodas and monasteries in the Samorong commune. Was this the case?
At that time, we had a Slakchrum on Ponari pagodas in my area, so there were only 2 pagodas.
And between 17 April 1975 and January 1979, how did the Khmer Rouge use these pagodas?
And
From 1975, the monks were ordered to disrobe, and the pagodas were transformed into a fertilizer warehouse, or meetings were also held at the pagodas.
qu'est-il arrivé?
What happened to statues of Buddha during this period? Who was responsible for what happened to the statues of the Buddha?
At Chakchrum Pagoda, the Buddha statues were thrown into a pond. They did not maintain those statues in the temples anymore.
Comment la population
How did the base people feel following the attack perpetrated by the Khmer Rouge soldiers against members of the religious ranks, against the Buddhist monks?
President, Mr. Witness, please wait, and Councillor Coupe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I object to this question. The witness can only answer to what he saw himself. He cannot answer questions as to what the base people felt about what happened. Je vais reformuler.
I'll rephrase my question. How did you yourself react to the fact that the monks were defrocked and the pagodas were being used for other purposes than the original intents and purposes that prevailed previously?
My feeling was that I really felt sorry for Buddhism and for the Buddha statue, but what could I do? That's how the country was turned into. So we all just kept silent, and we just did according to the instructions of our unit chief.
Vous avez dit dans votre
You stated that in your commune, under answer number 3 and answer number 35, you stated that aside from the base people and the 17 April people, there were no ethnic minorities such as the Vietnamese or the Cham. Between 17 April 1975 and the end of 1978, did you ever see or hear about Khmers from Kampuchea Krom speaking with their distinctive accent, arriving at the Tram Kak district and arriving at Samorong commune?
No, I did not see any of them in my commune. I mean, I did not see any of them at all in my commune. And only people in Unit 1, 2, and 3 were in my commune.
Ok. En même temps, est-ce que
Very well, but you stated that you were far away from Units 2 and 3. But are you absolutely certain that Unit 3 only held evacuees from Phnom Penh and evacuees from Takeo? Or is it possible that you are unsure of this?
To my knowledge, there was no mixture of these people in our commune. And as for Unit 3, there were only those people evacuated from Phnom Penh. And I can only recall one man, but not a woman.
Très bien.
Very well. Given the hour, Mr. President, I will now close my line of questioning. I wish to thank the witness for answering all of my questions.
President, thank you. And the chamber sits the floor now to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties. Do you have the floor? Civil party lawyer. Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honors, and good morning everyone in and around the courtroom. And for those who follow the trials through various other means, my name is Lao Janti from Legal Aid of Cambodia, and I represent civil parties in this case. And good morning, Mr. Pano Yao. And thank you for being here to provide your testimony. And of course, your testimony is in relation to the events that took place in Tram Kok and Krang Tachan. My first line of questions is related to your statement, that is document E3/5515. Through which person that Tanon and Tachir returned from Hanoi? Answer. I knew that Tachir returned from Hanoi together with Tanon. It's because the unit chief in my district talked about this. He said that these two individuals actually left Cambodia through Hanoi in what year that I cannot recall, and later on they returned. Question. Were the two men were they your native villagers? Answer. Tanon came from Chantia village in Samraung district. As for Tachir, I didn't know which village he came from. I only learned that he returned from Hanoi. Question. Again, in your statement, you said that Tachir arrested your female cousin from Ong Tasaum, and she was beaten up. Can you tell the court what was your female cousin doing in Ong Tasaum and what was the reason for her arrest? Answer. She was in fact, her husband was a teacher in Ong Ta Saum, but when soldiers came to National Road number 3, in fact, she followed them, and then the Khmer Rouge attacked the soldiers, and she could not flee on time. Then she was arrested by the Khmer Rouge soldiers. Question. Now I move on to another topic. You stated that in each village, villagers were categorized into different units. Can you tell the court whether the food supplies or other necessities given to the units were from the same village or were from elsewhere? Answer. As for the supply, it was locally distributed through the villagers, and it was not supplemented from elsewhere. Question. Does it mean that for food supply, it has to be taken from the village or commune cooperative, or how did it work? Answer. In the morning, we had to go to transport them from Ong Ponarie, for example, for Pain Mi cooperative. For example, the amount of rice and the amount of the vegetable that were given to each respective unit, then we would transport them in a cart through the unit. Question. You have stated about private ownership was abolished and that the private properties were gathered for common use. Can you tell the court who actually made the announcement that private properties would be used, would be put for a common use? Answer. Regarding the collection of private properties for common use, it was the unit chief who actually gathered those properties and belongings, namely cooking utilities. And the unit chief would do that, and if we keep something to ourselves, then we would be questioned by the unit chief. For example, if we were to keep a spoon, then we would be questioned for why. Question. After the private properties were gathered, were they being distributed for the consumption at various units, namely Unit 1, 2, and 3? Or how were those properties or utilities distributed among the various units? Answer. It was used based on the village kitchen. As for the other units, usually each unit would have its own kitchen, and it was the kitchen unit that maintained the utilities. Question. You also stated that you were in charge of teaching children. Who actually ordered you to teach children? Were you told explicitly to teach only alphabets or to teach any policies of the Khmer Rouge or of the revolution? Answer: I was designated by the unit chief to teach children, that is to teach them the alphabet, to teach them how to tend cows and to gather the cow dungs. Question: did you teach children to call Onka as their mother or father? Was there such a case? Answer: no, I was not instructed to do so, because those children have their respective mothers and fathers, and their mothers and fathers were working at the dam construction sites. I only taught them the alphabets based on the textbooks that I was given. Question. Now I move on to another topic. You were asked by the International Co-Prosecutor concerning the categorization of the people. Can you tell the court who actually imposed the criteria for the categorization of the people? Answer: on the categorization of people into three categories was done or was decided by the commune level. Questioned. So it was the commune level who made that decision on the selection process. It means that people were selected to be part of Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 3, etc. And what were the actual criteria for such a selection process? And after they had been selected for each respective unit, what was the nature of work imposed upon them? Answer. As for the selection process, I was not that familiar with. I only knew that I was told to go and join Unit 1, and some people from Unit 1 had to be sent to be placed in Unit 2, etc. So there had been some, there were some exchanges of people from Unit 1 to Unit 2, for example. Question. You stated that those who worked hard were given more food. And as for Unit 1 was the main labor force, and then more food was given to Unit 1. What do you mean by that? You mean were they the main force in building dams, for example, and other units only deal with transplanting rice seedlings? Answer. When I refer to the main force, for example, for transplanting rice seedlings. The 10 of them had to finish the work within one morning session, and if they could complete that kind of quota, they were considered the main force. Question. So does it mean that regardless of which units they were in, as long as they could finish that set quota, then they would be considered part of the main force? Answer, yes, that is correct. Then they will be referred or considered as the special force group or unit. Question, can you tell the court what you meant by a special unit and how the members of the special unit were selected? Answer. Special unit means they did more work and they finished the work earlier than the other units. For example, in terms of plowing the field or transplanting rice seedlings. So usually they had to finish the work earlier than the other units. Question. Let me now turn into the food regime. How was food distributed? For example, in Unit 1, there were 1,000 people. How was the rice distributed through this Unit 1 with 100 people? For example, was each unit member given a can of rice, or a can of rice is was for 10 people? Answer. As for the food distribution, 10 people were given 3 cans of rice. However, while I was at Angponari, each of us would be given half a can of rice. Question. When you received your food regime, for example, it means, did you receive like raw rice, or was it in a cooked form, like a cooked rice or a cooked gruel? Answer. While I was at Tabaimi, 10 of us were given 3 cans of rice in a form of gruel. But when we were at Angponari, it was a cooked rice. Although we received half a can each, it was not sufficient. Question. I'd like to move on to another topic. Also in the written record of a statement, and in question answer number 13, you talked about the commune committee, district committee, so on and so forth, up to the zone committee, and they were part of a chain of a command. My question to you is the following. How did you know about this structure or this chain of a command? Answer. I knew there was a chain of command because I was rather close to the unit chief, and I learned that information from him. But I myself was not a unit chief. I just worked close to the unit chief, and he said about the instruction relaying from the district through the commune, etc. Thank you. And in the interest of time, I'll conclude my question with two more remaining questions. In terms of Buddhist religion, while you were in that area prior to 1975, and you stated just then that there were two pagodas in your area, were there many Buddhist monks in the two pagodas prior to 1975? Answer. For Ong Ponari Pagoda, there were only about 30 monks. As for Takjong Pagoda, nearby my village, there were more than 100 monks residing in that pagoda. Questioned. And after 17 April 1975, where did those monks go? Did they remain at the pagodas? Answer. They remained at the pagodas until after 17 April 75, when they began to disrobe. And later on, there was no longer any monk in the pagodas. Questioned. After all the monks left the monkhood, and if somebody died within your unit or within the village, how did they go about finding a monk for a ritual or for the funeral? Answer. If somebody died or if somebody gets sick, that person would be sent to a hospital, and if that person then died at a hospital, he or she would be buried at that hospital without any funeral ritual held. Thank you very much for your answers, Mr. Witness and Mr. President. I don't have any further questions. President, thank you. We will now adjourn for our lunch break, and we will resume at 1:30 this afternoon. Court officer, please assist the witness during the lunch break and have him return to the courtroom this afternoon at 1:30. And security guards, you are instructed to take accused Phone to the waiting room downstairs and have him return to this courtroom this afternoon before 1:30. The court is now in recess.
Rao Chung.